Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
It was nice to at least walk down the last few holes, or at least the last hole, knowing that it was pretty much done. It's never safe, but very proud of everybody, and of course Tiro. I mean, what a week to get his first win in a few years and win by 6 in an absolutely dominant performance the way he did. It was absolutely incredible, so I couldn't be happier for him.
Certainly with not winning for 3.5 years, you kind of naturally question if you can do it again. So I'm just proud of myself to be able to get through that and play the way I did.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you with our edition of the show every day, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. And what an action-packed show we have for you today as we get ready for a couple of big soccer matches coming up. We will preview those with Kyle Bonn from Sporting News, so make sure you stay on the grid as well. Guest contributor, as always, from Legal Sports Report will join us on the show, talk a little sports betting. And also the Scottish Open is this week in the PGA Tour. And the championship next week, the Open Championship, is almost here. So Brady Kannon will weigh in with some picks and some information. That is about 11:40 a.m. Eastern, in case you're leaving us for any particular reason. Streaming the show live wherever you're watching. Thanks for being part of it today. Let's get right to it and start off with soccer. We'll start off with the Euro Cup game because that's on deck first. 3 p.m. Eastern, folks. That's the first game on the pitch, with Spain being the favorite over France. Spain is plus 170 over the FanDuel Sportsbook. Tie plus 180. France is plus 200. Spain and France among the most successful international soccer teams in the land. Spain taking aim at a record 4th Euro championship. Spain has been the more impressive side so far, the only squad to have won all 5 of its matches, and the team's 11 goals are the most of any of the 4 semifinals. 3 o'clock Eastern today, we'll have it covered for you on Pharrell Coast to Coast. Now, as far as Copa America, that game is tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, so in-game live and Gabe will have it covered on that one. Argentina, a massive favorite, as they should be, minus 310 over on FanDuel. And, of course, if you take upstart Canada, the big dogs left, plus 1,000. Plus 1,000. In the game today, not to win the whole thing, but plus 1,000 today. The reason why, Canada's had a hard time scoring, but they're here. Argentina did play Canada a couple of weeks ago, and they beat Canada 2-0 in Group A. Tuesday night's match will be the third meeting between the two teams. Argentina won each of the first 2 meetings, 5-0 in 2010, 2-0 in the group stage. So needless to say, the winner will take on the winner of Uruguay-Colombia in the tournament final this coming Sunday. That sets the stage for a couple of matches today in soccer, but we'll dive a little bit more as to some of the betting opportunities with Kyle Bonn from Sporting News in about 10 minutes from now. Major League Baseball last night, light night in baseball. The Reds beat the Rockies by a final of 6-0. We'll start there with the Major League debut of Rhys Hines, the Reds' number 15th ranked prospect according to Major League Baseball. 5th inning double, and then in the 8th inning, a 449-foot shot to give Cincinnati a 3-0 lead. If Rhys Hines' name seems a little bit familiar, once upon a time, a long time ago, as a high school player, he did a home run derby on the field before the actual home run derby. Pretty cool moment there. David Bell, manager of the Reds, talked about Hines' debut last night.
We know what he's capable of for sure, and to step right in to a big league game like that and directly contribute to a win. What a great way to get it going. You know, your career. And he was having fun out there. He enjoyed it, and you know, he playing. You know, had some nice plays in the field, and obviously contributed at the plate. And you know, kind of it's a good way to just acclimate yourself to the team. And you know, it was a big win for us. So to be able to contribute to that is a great feeling for Reese.
Reese will be a very hot player in fantasy baseball pickup leagues this week, too. Anthony Rendon, probably not. But he is back. Anthony Rendon with the Los Angeles Angels. Boy, would they love to trade him at the end of the month. He's missed 68 games and had a fun offseason. But needless to say, he's back with the Angels. What he'll do is anybody's guess. Chris Sale scratched yesterday. He's going to start today for the Atlanta Braves. Braves also said that he is unlikely to pitch in the Midsummer Classic next Tuesday just due to scheduling quirks. So he'll make the All-Star team, but will probably have to be replaced as far as participating on the roster. Meanwhile, Marcell Ozuna of the Braves announced he's participating in Home Run Derby a week from this past Monday. Raul Mondesi, former big league player, sentenced to 6 years in jail in the Dominican Republic. Prosecutors accused Mondesi of embezzling $5 million with his time as mayor between 2010 and 2016. Some of the time, from what I'm reading, was deferred because he was under house arrest the last few years. Cooper Flagg, 17-year-old Duke Blue Devil, college freshman, who has yet to play a game in college, was holding his own against NBA superstars in their practice. Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, three-pointers, putbacks, everything else. He should be the number one overall pick in next year's NBA draft. We'll hear from Cooper Flagg in the sound off coming up. Paul George, by the way, said he was disrespected with his offer to return to the Los Angeles Clippers. Sorry, Paul. Hasn't worked out. Dan Hurley's UConn contract. Here it is, 6 years, $50 million. He rejected a 6-year, $70 million to become the Lakers head coach. There were really no terms that were disclosed once he ended up going back to UConn, but those are the terms, 6 years, $50 million. Zach Edey also playing in the Summer League. That's been going on right now, as you may know. 14 points, 15 rebounds, 4 blocks, also tipped in a last-second shot to send the game to overtime, but the Grizzlies lost the game in the end, 97-95. All right, now, at the court in Wimbledon, we've had some major upsets, both on the men's and women's side. In fact, Jannik Sinner will take on Daniel Medvedev. That is coming up. They're playing right now. Also, Carlos Alcaraz, one of the favorites to win, takes on Tommy Paul. But a bigger story yesterday was Novak Djokovic. He advanced at Wimbledon after beating Holger Rune and advancing to the quarterfinals, with everybody essentially booing Djokovic and rooting against him, which has pretty much been the case wherever he has gone. And Djokovic had some words for the crowd when he talked about that after the match.
And to all those people that have chosen to disrespect the player, in this case me, have a good night. I don't accept it. No. I know they were cheering for Rune, but that's an excuse to also boo. Listen. I've been on the tour for more than 20 years, so trust me, I know all the tricks. I know how it works. It's fine, it's okay. I focus on the respectful people that have respect, that pay the ticket to come and watch tonight, and love tennis, and appreciate the players and the effort that the players put in here. I played in much more hostile environment, trust me. You guys can't touch me.
Wow, good stuff, I guess. The Joker is truly the Joker going into the next round at Wimbledon. All right, this is a strange story, by the way, from soccer. This gentleman named Felix Weyer, who's a referee who served in a match-fixing ban back in soccer in 2005, is actually going to officiate Wednesday's Euro Cup semifinal game between England and the Netherlands. He was suspended 6 months in 2005 for accepting a bribe in a match between a couple of German clubs. And I guess he's back refereeing. Kind of strange here, to say the least. The National Football League has suspended Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton for 8 games without pay. He violated the NFL's personal conduct policy. The league announced on Monday he'll be eligible to return late in October, Week 8, against the New York Giants. There was a warrant issued in March 7th after police responded to a call at his house where Sutton allegedly battered a woman before fleeing the scene, and he is not appealing the suspension, so the Steelers will be without him for the first half of the NFL season. All right, if you're interested in learning more about the upcoming soccer matches, I know some of you don't pay that close attention to soccer. You want to learn more about the odds and who's playing and how to bet these things. I got some advice for you. Download the SportsGrid app. It's right now available for iOS and Android. All you have to do is take out your phone and see that QR code right there. Just scan it, and it'll download automatically for you, especially if you have your settings on automatic downloads for free apps. Guess what? That thing is free. It is the SportsGrid app, and it is available right now for iOS and Android. So make sure you download that thing, gets you all ready for the soccer matches. Speaking of which, Kyle Bonn is back in the house, as we have a very big game coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern. In case you missed the odds, we'll give them to you here and show you that Spain will take on France. There it is, plus 200 if you like France, plus 170 if you like Spain. Who is the proper team to take? We'll find out next as Kyle Bonn will join us. We'll also go over the big matchup between Argentina and Canada, with Canada being a massive underdog. Some spots 10-1, other spots 9-1. Does Kyle have the stones to take Canada over Argentina? He was on the show last week saying Argentina is going to win it all, so I don't think so. But we'll see if we can talk him into it. We'll be right back with more NewsWire after this.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Like cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What, are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The world will be watching soccer this afternoon and this evening, along with Major League Baseball. But our focus is, of course, the soccer, as the Euros and Copa America are coming to a close this week. Let's bring in Kyle Bonn from Sporting News. Kyle was on with us last week. And, he loved Argentina. I'm going to try and talk him out of that today, maybe to take Canada. Kyle, thanks for coming on the show. I mean, look, Canada's the best story remaining, I think, in these soccer tournaments, whatever they call them. But, you know, certainly, as we've talked about, a little bit of luck goes into this. I think that's fair to say. Can they pull off would be one of the bigger upsets in one of these tournaments?
Yeah, they certainly are a wonderful story, Craig. You're absolutely right. You know, and Colombia is too. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I just don't see it here. I don't. Argentina have shown over the last few months and really the last 2 years that they are the best team in the world, not just flat out, which they are, but the best team in the world at taking punches and responding. They don't have to have their best stuff on any given night to win. We saw that against Ecuador in the quarterfinal, where they were in trouble for a while because Ecuador scored a late equalizer and it sent the game to penalties. In the Copa America, there's no extra time. They go right to penalties if the game is level after the 90 minutes plus stoppage time. So that was dicey. But they have Emi Martinez in goal, who's a cheat code for penalty shootouts. So you have to beat Argentina in regular time. You've got to beat them in the 90 minutes because you're not beating Emi Martinez in the penalty shootout. So the question here is, can Canada win in 90 minutes? And I just don't see it happening. Canada played real well in the opening game of the group stage against Argentina and lost that game 2-0 because they just made a couple of schoolboy errors at the back and they couldn't finish their chances up front. You play that game against another opponent or against the same opponent, but Argentina's not on the front of their shirt. You played that game 100 times, Canada maybe wins 10 of them because of the way that they played. If a couple chances go in, they don't concede at the back. But against Argentina, it's just such a good opponent, experienced opponent, and they don't fall short even when they don't have their best stuff. They manage to pull it out, and I just don't see it happening.
All right, so Argentina, Kyle says, maybe wins. And I think naturally the other part of this too is that if you're not interested in laying crazy money with Argentina, maybe anytime goal scorer is the thing. I haven't followed this that closely. Messi is minus money to score tomorrow night. Has he been that way throughout the tournament here? Because I know he's the only minus money goal scorer. Martinez plus 150 is the next closest.
Yeah, so Messi has not. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, which he's kind of dealt with over the last 2 years of his career, on and off. And he just hasn't looked himself this tournament. I would stay away from minus money with Messi. You can play minus money with Messi when he's in good form. He's just not in that good form right now. Lautaro Martinez is the way to go. He has been scoring in bunches. And it's funny because he's not a good goal scorer for the national team. If you look at his record, he's amazing for his club Inter, and he's just not great for Argentina. But he is the beneficiary right now of a lot of good players around him. He is being fed chances in front of goal. He's missing a lot of them, but he's finding the net on a couple. So he's the guy right now for Argentina. He's sort of the chance recipient, if you will. He's not doing much himself to find the back of the net, but everybody else is feeding him right now, including Messi. Messi's playing a little bit more creative in this tournament rather than a finisher. So I would stay away from Messi. You could play Lautaro Martinez, but there's so many players who can score for Argentina, I wouldn't look much further than that.
Okay, so then no reason really to go over Messi's specials on FanDuel then, because if you don't like him, Kyle, I'm not going to waste time on that. All right, Colombia, Uruguay. Let's get to that matchup here. Another one where at least the odds are telling us is pretty much even. This one is Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern at Bank of America Stadium in North Carolina. I see Colombia on FanDuel plus 185. I see Uruguay plus 185. Here in the States, we're very familiar at this point with Uruguay. Is there a chance Uruguay can pull this off? Because again, I mean, if I'm looking just at the odds, it tells me flip your coin.
Yes, if this is an absolute coin flip, this game. But I'm going to kind of switch what I was saying on this show last week, which was I think Uruguay have the best chance to take down Argentina and Messi. I no longer think that. I was really, really disappointed with Uruguay's performance against Brazil. I think Uruguay have really, really good players. In fact, I think Uruguay right now are better than Brazil, and they could have taken the game to Brazil and won that game 2 or 3-0. I really believe that. Marcelo Bielsa instead came into that game and said, we're the worst team. We're going to play hack of Brazil and just foul the crap out of you and not let you play. And they played for a scoreless draw and won on penalties. I just was so disappointed by that approach because I really think Uruguay could have won that game emphatically, and they didn't even try to do that. They fouled Brazil 26 times. It was an awful, awful game to watch. And I'm so dismayed by that, and I've been so impressed by how Colombia have played. They're on a 27-game unbeaten streak that dates back all the way to early 2022. They missed the 2022 World Cup and have been literally unbeatable since then. They've just turned it around completely, and I'm so impressed by what Colombia have done. James Rodriguez has 5 assists this tournament, far and away the leader at the Copa. So I've just been so impressed by Colombia and what they've been able to do. I don't think they'll be cut down the way Brazil were if Uruguay come into this game looking to foul them out off the field.
All right, Euro Cup real quick. Let's get to both of these. Spain versus France. Spain being the heavy favorite at plus 170. Netherlands taking on England. And England at plus 160, the favorite there. Who comes out of the semifinals?
Yeah, I like Spain. France and England have both been so poor in the attack, and yet they're here in the semifinals because international football is just about results. It doesn't matter how you look, it's just about results. But I am worried up against 2 really good opponents. Spain, I think, are the favorites to win the tournament right now. I would jump all over them on the futures if I can right now because I know you're getting decent plus money. I just think the Dutch will counter England off the field, and I think it's Spain, Netherlands in the final.
All right, there you go. Kyle, great stuff. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Craig.
All right, we'll be back with the Sports Grid sound off after this.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Like cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. It's time now for the Sports Grid sound off here on NewsWire. We have the Scottish Open coming up this weekend, the British Open coming up next week, and then naturally the Ryder Cup. That is the big story coming up later in the summer and into the fall. There's no question about it that the Ryder Cup is still a monumental event on the golf scene. And once we get there, it'll be a hot topic of discussion for us in the midst of course, college and pro football. But a big surprise yesterday issued as Team USA names its captain in the upcoming Ryder Cup. It is none other than Keegan Bradley, which is a pretty big surprise in the world of the PGA Tour in golf. On the early line this morning, Keith Stewart talked to the guys about the decision that was made.
Keith, there's an idea about who is not the captain, right? We mentioned Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, but Keegan Bradley, his Twitter bio is the people's golfer. What will Keegan Bradley bring to Team USA as its captain for the 2025 Ryder Cup?
What I think Keegan Bradley is going to bring to the team is a little bit of unsettledness. You ever watch Keegan Bradley play? He's very fidgety. He is very in your face, and he is an incredible ball striker. I think he's going to put these guys on edge, and that's what we need. The boys club is officially disbanded. This is not going to happen again, and I am super excited about this. Everyone on Twitter complained after Rome. We don't like the way the PGA of America does this. We don't like this. We don't like this. They have done something completely outside the box, and now everyone's complaining again that this guy isn't good enough. As far as I'm concerned, Keegan Bradley plays golf with Michael Jordan all the time. How about three guys that are out of work right now? Coach K, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick. Put them in the locker room instead of a bunch of guys that are, Davis Love disciples. I am sick of all that. I can't stand it anymore. I want guys that are going to absolutely go in there and want to just run up and down the fairway at Bethpage Black with no shirt on, wrapped in an American flag, like Jim Craig did back in 1980. This is what we need in order to get the job done, not just at Bethpage Black, but when we go to Ireland in a couple more years. I love the change in trajectory here by my association.
I think Keith brings up a really good point, and that, first of all, is the fact that we're going to complain about anything, right? Like whoever they name, there's going to be some complaint. This goes for all-star teams, it goes for championships, MVPs, and in this case, it goes for the Ryder Cup. They needed a spark. Team USA needed a spark. Now, I don't know if Keegan Bradley is the spark, and naturally, if it doesn't work, we'll be critical of that as well. But at least for the time being, as Keith said, the boys club no longer going to be the case at the Ryder Cup. Well, meanwhile, not sure that this could be called the boys club. It is called Team USA. A lot of pressure, as always, to win the gold. Most times it has gone Team USA's way. Other times, not so much. We thought we would check in with a preview as we finally got the schedule as Team USA makes its debut against Serbia on July 28th. Social media correspondent Ian McCundy weighs in on what Team USA looks like as they go for the gold.
Over the weekend, Team USA met up to begin to practice and start getting ready to chase their Olympic gold. This looks like one of the best teams that the U.S. has put out in recent years, featuring some of the biggest and brightest stars in the NBA. LeBron, Steph Curry, Bam Adebayo, Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Tyrese Halliburton, Kawhi, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, and Devin Booker. With a roster that loaded with talent, it's going to come as no shock that the U.S. are sitting as the favorite to bring home the gold medal, sitting at minus 390 on FanDuel, and second place is Canada at plus 850. Canada and the U.S. will be playing this Wednesday in an exhibition game, so it's going to be the States and Canada's first chance at action to see how the two teams size up against each other. And it should be especially interesting given the way Canada eliminated the U.S. in last year's FIBA tournament, and I think the States are going to want to get some revenge. It's going to be a great tournament to watch, and going to be some very exciting plays on that court from the U.S. squad.
All right, thanks, Ian. And we'll check back with Ian next week for more USA basketball. Naturally, Team USA wants that revenge against Canada. FIBA not quite the same, of course, as the Olympics. And as I mentioned, they just made the announcement a short time ago that Team USA opens up July 28th against Serbia, which I believe will have a player by the name of Nikola Jokic playing on the other side. Meanwhile, Cooper Flagg got his opportunity. The young player from Duke University had a chance to work out with Team USA and basically held his own. He talked about yesterday about his abilities and how good Team USA is.
They can be whatever team they want to be. They have no weaknesses, no holes. They can play any type of way and dominate. So it's just going to be a dominant team that comes out and asserts the will on everybody they see. I mean, I'm confident in my ability and my skill. So at the end of the day, I'm confident in who I am and what I can do. So I'm just coming out to play basketball.
Cooper, what is your previous USA basketball experience?
All right, well, we will check back with more Team USA basketball as the summer rolls on. But for now, we turn to Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report for the very latest on draft picks. Have a next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Like cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report back in the house as we discuss a number of topics, including DraftKings and a little bit on FanDuel, although their parent company is Flutter, so we'll hit on that as well. Matt, thanks for coming back here on the show, and let's start off with a company, an upstart company that has performed very well called Kambi, which is responsible for a lot of the different operations in different sports books and technology. What is the story here, Matt, though? They have changed a little bit of their projections for the future. Why make this announcement, by the way? Is that just happens on stock calls?
Yeah, so first of all, Craig, they made this call at the beginning of 2023 to talk about, to forecast what they would earn in 2027, basically. They said, upwards of 500 million euros in revenue and more than 150 million in EBIT. That's your earnings before interest and taxes. It was kind of interesting to see that they would announce, 4 years out like that. But I think it was necessary at the time for Kambi. Kambi was coming off of a 2022 where they lost DraftKings as a customer, and they knew going into 2023 that they were going to lose Penn Entertainment as a customer, who was partnered with Barstool, now with ESPN Bet. And so I think they wanted to give some support to the stock and throw some certainty and security behind the stock by saying, look, this is what we still expect. There's still a lot of big markets out there to legalize, and the company's going to be just fine, even if we have to go with smaller guys. Well, they don't think that anymore. They said that basically California, Texas, other states, it's just happening too slowly at this point for them to reach those targets by 2027. And they have to do that, Craig. When you say that you had forecasts, when those forecasts change materially, you have to let the stock market know. Kambi is traded in Stockholm. And so that basically is why they had to come out and say this. It wasn't a huge hit for the stock. It fell like 6.5% that day. Made a little bit back up on Friday. This was announced last Thursday. Look, Kambi is an interesting name for sports betting customers in the U.S. to be aware of. Kambi, like I said at the beginning, they were kind of setting partners with everybody because they're a European-based sports betting technology company that knows what they're doing, frankly. But it turns out that it is cheaper in the long run for these sports betting companies to get their own technology, whether they have to build it out and invest in the development of that, or they just go out and buy their own. Eventually, those numbers are going to be positive for them on owning the own technology instead of paying these monthly fees and the revenue share and everything that comes with having a third party partner like that. So Canby it is interesting because you think about they signed a big deal with the Choctaw Nation to be in not just Oklahoma, they have a presence in Texas. They signed it as a nationwide deal. You think about all of the tribes in California, whenever California sports betting does kick off, they don't necessarily want to be in bed with the big boys because it costs too much. That's where it can come in and say, hey, throw your brand on this. We have the technology, just have some people to run it. So I don't think anybody knows exactly what Canby is going to be in 2027 at this point, but it became evident to them that they had to throw those numbers out and give the market a reset.
Yeah, no, I think Canby's an interesting company to watch, again, being involved with some of the others. Now, as far as the parent company of FanDuel, their name is Flutter. And this is one I'll need some explanation on here because you guys have a story about how they could potentially be interested in this, again, potential merger between Penn Entertainment, Gaming, and Boyd. So what would they be interested in? What are the assets that they would want to purchase in a deal like this?
Yeah, this Penn story about being sold is messy for a whole bunch of reasons, simply because Penn is such a big company. We had an investor, they say they're not active as investors, but they had an investor come out at the end of May and write this whole story about how Penn just lost all this money in Interactive. They're losing money now because people are worried more about Interactive than the brick and mortar business. And so they were linked to being sold. And Boyd is linked to buying them at this point. Now, Boyd can't just buy all of it, right? They are competitors in the market. They'll have some casinos that need to be sold. And Boyd also doesn't necessarily want to buy the Interactive business. And that's where Flutter is saying that they could come in. We have these unconfirmed anonymous reports from this website called The Deal. It's a subscription-only website, so couldn't even get your hands on the report. But they're saying that Flutter would be interested in buying the Interactive assets. And you have to wonder why. I don't know exactly. We know after the Barstool deal failed and Jay Snowden kind of went on and gave us some details from that they didn't do very well with Barstool in terms of building up a database and this and that. They have the ESPN bet now, and that's great. Maybe they have something a little more lucrative that a FanDuel could buy. But Flutter and Boyd actually already have a business relationship. Boyd and FanDuel in 2018, they agreed on a market access agreement. So Boyd actually owns 5% of FanDuel. That's worth a lot, as you can assume, I'm sure. So it's interesting to see that these two could be working together to get a Penn deal done. They are not the only ones that would need to work on this, though. Like I said, there would need to be some casino operators that step in to buy some of the jointly owned casinos by this merged company that would need to be gotten rid of for competitive purposes, frankly, Craig. There'd be a lot of regulators with their hands in this. But yeah, certainly interesting report. It was another report that saw the Penn share price jump up. So really interesting to see what the stock is going to do going into earnings season. I don't know that we'll hear anything from Flutter directly on this, or Boyd or Penn, frankly, with how many moving parts there are. But interesting report to see that maybe Flutter would buy it just to, I don't know, kick somebody else out of the market, maybe. Who knows what they would do with that Disney deal, but it's definitely something we're watching.
Yeah, no, I think so. And then finally, as we close it out, what's really fascinating to me is seeing all these reports, Matt, state by state, that a lot of the numbers are down in sports wagering this summer. I don't know why this should come as any surprise. I mean, the primary sport, of course, is football. The secondary sport is basketball and maybe hockey and some others. I mean, is it simply the reason why DraftKings estimates are down as well? I mean, this isn't really time to panic in the summer, is it?
No, I think when we reported on a note from Deutsche Bank on DraftKings, they lowered EBITDA estimates for the second quarter. A lot of that is coming from the increased Illinois tax, Craig. There's a lot of flow through from that. The other part of it is that they think maybe the hold is going to be down and that DraftKings just got beat again. Now, remember, DraftKings is saying, they expect a structural hold of 10.5% for the full year. And that's because they're baking in all of these advantages from the parlays, the same game parlays, all of these products that they're pushing that give them better margins. But yeah, so it's interesting. The other thing about being worried about the handle dropping in the States, Craig, is with these states, we have maybe 13 U.S. jurisdictions left that can really legalize sports betting. And with them now not picking up at the same clip that we saw, we want to see these older states still growing what they're doing for a DraftKings and a FanDuel and the players that have been in the market for a while. And DraftKings has proven that they've done that. So I certainly think that's going to be something that DraftKings hits hard in their upcoming earnings call at the beginning of August. I think they're going to want to point out that they still have these legacy states that are doing well. And, they're going to try to tell everybody that they're mitigating these tax revenue increases, as well as they can.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, Matt, great stuff as always. And thanks again for coming on. We'll catch up with you next week here on NewsWire.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, Matthew Waters from LegalSportsReport.com. Coming up next, Brady Kannon joins us. Scottish Open this week, British Open the following week. We'll dive into it all next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Busy couple of weeks overseas. The Scottish Open, which is the tune-up to the Open Championship. Of course, Brady will be on the show all next week to preview that. But first and foremost, let's get to the tournament this week with a lot of big names playing ahead of the Open Championship at the Scottish Open on the PGA Tour. Hey, Brady, great to have you back here on NewsWire. How are you?
Hey, great to be with you again, Craig. Yeah, big boy golf coming up for the next couple of weeks. A little tune-up before the final major of the season. And it kind of is exactly that. We get to Royal Troon next week for the British Open. And this is a little bit of links light, if you will. It's kind of an Americanized links track, Tom Doak design. They call it maybe a more modern links. Obviously, the links designs we're used to for the British Open Championship, go hundreds of years back in time. This is certainly a more modern design. I want to say it opened in 2015 or something like that. It's been the host of the Scottish Open, what will now be the 6th year in a row, the Renaissance Club in North Berwick. And it's, like I say, it's a perfect tune-up for next week. I landed on Tommy Fleetwood. I just really couldn't avoid him, Craig. I've got a ticket on him for next week. He's had a fantastic year. I mean, he finished third at the Masters. His last 6 starts, he has not finished worse than 26th. Had a top 20 at the U.S. Open. Just been in really good form. And here at the Scottish Open, he's finished 4th and 6th and lost in a playoff in 2020. Another correlated course for me is near your neck of the woods, PGA National, where they play the Honda Classic, where we see a lot of links-style players have success, Ernie Els and Rory and Padraig Harrington. Tommy's finished 3rd and 4th there at the Honda. So I just couldn't leave him off my card, even though I've got him for next week. Maybe he'll win one of the two. Maybe he'll win both. But I took him at 19-1.
Yeah, and 18-1 now over on FanDuel. No Scotty Scheffler playing this week, so Fleetwood at 18-1. Some of Brady's picks as well. Let's go into some of the other players that you like. And, again, it just depends on the day, depends on the course. You talk a lot about top 10s, top 20s, top 30s. Those are widely available on both FanDuel and DraftKings. But Minwoo Lee is another one you have at 28-1. Aaron Ray, who's been a little up and down, 40-1. Alex Noren, you could say the same. Thomas Dietrich, Matt Wallace. And then the big long shot you have here is Matthew Jordan, who, if he wins, dinner should be on everybody buying you dinner, if that is the case.
Yeah, that'll work. Jordan is a total long shot, obviously, at 175-1. Matt Wallace is a good-sized long shot as well at 125-1. I have seen some people apparently hammer Matt Wallace. I just minutes ago saw him down to 80-1 at a book here in Las Vegas. He just finished 15th a few weeks ago at the KLM Open in the Netherlands. He's had a solid season. He was 4th at the Byron Nelson, which is a correlated course for me. He's done well here at the Renaissance Club as well. Solid finishes across the board, top 25, top 30, as low as 14th in 2019 here at the Renaissance Club. Matthew Jordan really kind of burst on the scene last year at the Open Championship at Royal Liverpool, the hometown kid that finished top 10. He drives it long, he hits greens in regulation, and he putts well. And he's done pretty well here at the Renaissance Club as well, finishing 14th. I believe it was 14th for Matthew Jordan in his debut, maybe 18th, but a top 20 finish, I believe, for Matthew Jordan here at the Renaissance Club in his debut performance. And some good finishes recently on the European Tour. In 3 of his last 5 starts, he's finished top 15. Alex Noren, we know, has had a great season. He's had good success at the Honda, good success in Detroit, good success in Houston. The Memorial Golf Club or Memorial Park in Houston, where they play the Houston Open, is also a Tom Doak design, and Noren has had great success there. Along with another one of my selections, Thomas Dietrich, who finished runner-up at the Houston Open just earlier this season and has also lost in a playoff, finished runner-up to Minwoo Lee here at the Scottish Open in 2021. Got him at 80-1, and I've seen a lot of support for Dietrich this year, who's another guy who's had an excellent season, finished 4th at the PGA Championship, had a top 20 at the U.S. Open. I went with all Europeans, basically, no Americans this week, Craig. And I think there is some randomness to this event, the week before a major. Can we rely on Rory McIlroy, who's your defending champion? Xander Schauffele, who won here in 2022. Matt Fitzpatrick is a name, that I think you have to look out for this week. Wyndham Clark, I took a stab, who we really haven't heard from since like earlier in the season when he was finishing runner-up to Scotty Scheffler, it seemed, every week. Wyndham Clark, he hasn't really been great until he did record a top 10 a few weeks ago at the Travelers Championship, and the price hasn't really adjusted. We're still able to get him at better than 50-1 for one of the best players in the world who's finished 16th and 25th here at the Renaissance Club. So I kind of went all over the board. Minwoo Lee and Aaron Rai made my card as well, former champions who are in really good form right now. I went with 8 different guys, and we'll see if we can hit one of them. We have a mixed bag. It's a co-sanctioned event between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, and you have about half the field from the PGA and about half the field from the European Tour. So, I kind of went a little bit all over the map with a little bit of everything this week.
All right. Well, listen, again, some of it could be, top finishers, top 20, top 30. Okay, so the look ahead, you have Fleetwood at the Open Championship coming up next week. And of course, that's the one tournament that the randomness definitely comes into play. Will you take anything from this week towards next week's Open Championship, or you said you just watch this one at the end of the week?
It's a great question, Craig. And we've seen Phil Mickelson win the Scottish and then go on to win the British. Ricky Fowler has won here and had success the next week. We've seen Colin Morikawa miss the cut at the Scottish and then go on to win the British. So, you never can tell, but I don't want a guy that's in awful form. I can tell you that. And again, this is kind of like links light, not as full-blown links golf as we'll see next week at Royal Troon. But yeah, certainly I'm going to keep an eye on it. Maybe not go with the winner, but maybe that guy that kind of lurks with the top 20 and has a nice week.
All right. Love it, Brady, as always. We'll catch up again ahead of the Open Championship next week. Thanks for coming on.
You got it, Craig. Thank you.
All right, Brady Kannon. You can also read his columns at golf.com. Catch him here all over on the SportsGrid network. We got Last Licks next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we wrap it up with some last licks, a couple of topics we'll discuss. The quarterback at the University of Texas, also Joey Chestnut, making news yet again. And if you win the Home Run Derby, you're in for a big surprise this year. Those are our topics as we begin here on Last Licks. Well, he's probably the most talked about college player that doesn't play. Yes, his name is Arch Manning, the backup quarterback at the University of Texas. Now, remember, when Arch Manning decided he was going to go play at Texas, the thought process was he's going to play immediately. He's a generational quarterback. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick, like his uncle, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning in the NFL draft. But that has not been the case. In fact, he's not going to start this season, and he's not leaving. He is not going anywhere. He's not entering the transfer portal. He's going to play behind Quinn Ewers this year, essentially saying that his time eventually will come. He likes it at the University of Texas, and we really don't know the true story here. Does he have other opportunities to go other places? We don't know. Did he get a better NIL deal somewhere else? We don't know. But he, in an interview yesterday, he basically said that he understands the dynamic. Ewers is the starting quarterback, and he'll get his chance when the time comes. Now, that being said, it is a little strange for a quarterback of his pedigree not to go somewhere else. But there's also a possibility that he just wants to play at Texas. Now, it may not be this year, but it definitely will be next year. And you talk about pressure going into a college quarterback season. Quinn Ewers has it on him heading to the Southeastern Conference this season. Now, Joey Chestnut made news for not participating in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, but he's making even bigger news these days because he doesn't stop competitive eating. In fact, over the last 24, 48 hours, Chestnut competed in a different competition, a self-eating competition, I guess is what it's called. He ate 200 boneless wings in 38 minutes. This is true. Joey Chestnut, the athlete, ate 200 boneless wings in 38 minutes. It was some sort of promotion, I believe, with Buffalo Wild Wings. But the funny part about it is, I don't know if you can see it there in the graphic, but just like Will Chamberlain, when he scored his 100 points in an NBA game, Chestnut thought it would be funny to show that he ate his 200 or 100, whatever it was, boneless wings in 38 minutes. So Joey Chestnut, this time of the year, gets a lot of attention. You know, we only really hear his name for like a month or two out of the year. He's trying to make more of it, doing his own thing on Netflix and things like that. But you got to respect it. The guy has just mastered the art of attention and eating. Two good things there. All right, so Marcell Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves joined the field of home run derby contestants. Alec Bohm, Gunnar Henderson, they're also involved in the game. Ozuna is having a great season for the Atlanta Braves. We also found out yesterday that the winner is going to get the bling. That's it. Home run derby chain given out to the winner of whoever wins this home run derby in Arlington on Monday night. It's the first time ever anything like this has been done. Maybe this is why Pete Alonso a couple of days ago said that he is going to return to the home run derby as well. I guess there's some complaining that not a lot of big names are in the home run derby again. I guess my only complaint is, for me, I'm going to the home run derby, and I am sitting in right field, and a lot of the hitters are righty. So I guess a lot of the balls are going to go to left field. That's my only complaint thus far. So whoever gets named to the derby, I think they have 2 or 3 more to name. I personally am hoping that they're left-handed hitters. The only one right now involved as a lefty is Gunnar Henderson of the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll see. I think they have to make this announcement over the next day or two, so we'll find out who is next for the home run derby. All right, that will do it for our last licks here on the show. Let me give you an idea as to what is coming up next here on NewsWire. In fact, we've got the early line coming up next with Ben and Donnie. They got you covered for all the news, notes, and information and picks against the spread for some baseball and some soccer as well, followed by Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. That's 3 o'clock Eastern right here on NewsWire, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Game time decisions at 6. Then we have in-game live prime time and Sports Rage with Gabe tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. He'll be all fired up about Team Canada playing in the semifinals. We'll see if they can pull it off after being 10-1 underdogs coming up here. All right, that'll do it for the show. Thanks again to Brady Kannon for coming on the program. Also, Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report for weighing in on everything happening in sports as well. Also, every guest contributor, a thank you from Sporting News. Today was Kyle Bonn. Also, our producer of this show today is Frankie B. I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I'll see you right back here tomorrow morning for our next edition.